If you have ever emailed BookFunnel support, you have probably gotten a reply from someone known as Jamie. We have something to tell you all, I guess. Some of you might already know this. At this point, it's kind of an open secret. Joining us today, I want you to welcome to the podcast, Jamie.
Hey folks, welcome to BookFunnel Podcast. My name is Jack. I'm our lead author support specialist here at BookFunnel. This is episode 15 of the BookFunnel Podcast and a special one. Today we have some special guests I'm going to introduce here in just a minute. But first, as always, I am joined by my co-hosts, Emma Allison and Kelly Tansey.
Hello.
And joining us today, we have several guests. I want you to welcome today to the podcast, Jamie, and Jamie. Welcome, otherwise known as Kat, Joetta, and Mike. These are the BookFunnel Reader Support Team members here with us today. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. We have something to tell you all, I guess, for everybody watching the podcast. Some of you might already know this. At this point, it's kind of an open secret. If you have ever emailed BookFunnel support, you have probably gotten a reply from someone known as Jamie. Jamie is not real. I know. Well, that's not true. The name Jamie isn't real. The person, or I should say persons, it's plural, are real. If they're here, this is really the whole BookFunnel support team, author support and reader support. Author support has been like here on the podcast and on the YouTube channel, and you've probably figured it out with us, but reader support, we are actual people, right? All of us. And there's a story behind all of this that we will get to here in a little bit about the origins of Jamie, why we use the name Jamie in support and all of that stuff. But basically the gist of it, for those of you who maybe don't have the patience to wait until the end. When readers email support and we go back and forth sometimes and they have like different, they hear from different people. It used to be the way we did it. We reply with our own names. It would get really confusing. And they'd be like, hey, I was talking to so-and-so and they were helping me with this. And it just made it much simpler. Kat, maybe you can explain, because you were there in that day, what it was like and how confused readers were when they originally emailed and then heard back from somebody else.
Yeah, originally it was Julie and I.
Uh-huh.
And a reader, since we were working 12-hour days kind of back to back, so somebody would be talking with Julie and then the next 2 days would be my shifts.
Yeah.
And so, it got confusing. So we just, tried to simplify.
Yeah. And Jamie was born. We have all been Jamie.
Legion.
We are Jamie. We are Legion. We all are Jamie at different times, both in reader support and author support. And that's, again, mainly just for continuity sake in support, pretty much. So today we have the reader support team here because we want to talk to you about BookFunnel reader support. But this reveal kind of had to happen in order to do that, because otherwise, what were we going to do? I don't think we would have been able to keep that charade up. What does BookFunnel do? They only hire people named Jamie? That seems very, very discriminatory. But no, we don't do that. We don't. We don't do that at all. We just make you use the name Jamie, which I don't think OSHA has anything to say about that. Yet, maybe. I don't know. So we're going to get to our tips from the trenches segment first here. And this segment today is going to be special because we're talking specifically about BookFunnel reader support. Everybody here is a member of BookFunnel support, author support, or reader support. And so if you've used BookFunnel as an author, reader support has probably been an invaluable tool for you. And each person here is going to share a tip that's going to help you get the most out of BookFunnel reader support. I'm going to go first this time. And I basically want to make sure that if you're watching this, BookFunnel support exists. It's a real thing. And here's what you do. If your reader has trouble getting their book, you simply reply to their email and CC help@bookfunnel.com, and we will help your reader get their book. So you don't have to struggle with trying to help them yourself. That's my tip for you guys today. This is really what I think honestly has made BookFunnel what it is the support that we provide to authors and how much that helps them. Because I think it was Katie Cross at Author Nation this past November. She was giving a talk or something, and she said, I'm here talking to all of you authors in this presentation, and meanwhile, Jamie is running my business in BookFunnel reader support. And that's really what we aim to do. So if you didn't know this about BookFunnel already, now you do know. Send your readers to us if they have trouble getting their books. So Kat, you've got a
Yes.
tip for authors as well.
I do. The majority of reader support has to do with readers trying to get their books to their Kindle apps or devices. And because we're not affiliated with Amazon and you are going through BookFunnel and not Amazon, it won't automatically appear in their Kindle library. It's something that they have to upload to it. And a lot of readers get confused about that, thinking, well, I just bought these books from this author and I said I wanted to read it on my Kindle, but it's not in my Kindle library yet. We just need to, send them to us and we can walk them through step by step on any device how to get their books to their Kindle library.
Yep. Yep. And it's different. Even though it's Kindle, it's not the same for every device.
It's not.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
there's with all the changes that they make, sometimes using the BookFunnel app works every time. And then they'll, Amazon or Kindle will make a change and the email and app methods won't work and you need to use the browser method, which is I found the only 100% all the time reliable way to upload books to Kindle.
right. Well, and I remember, and Joetta and Kat, you'll remember too, like way back in the day, what Kindle was like. Because it
Yeah.
was, and you said it just changed so much. Even, I mean, it's changing constantly. But to try to like remember what it was like when I first joined the team, because I started out in reader support, like it's night and day. It's constantly changing. Of course, we had to deal with Mobi files back then too.
Yeah. And now that they've switched to, the kind of global ebook format, which is EPUB,
Uh-huh.
it's easier, but it also comes with its own issues because it has to have very specific qualities sometimes. Or if it's a generic EPUB, sometimes Kindle just won't like it. And we have to,
Yeah.
finagle it in the background.
Exactly. Exactly. Emma, you had a tip to share. I mean, everybody does, but you're up next.
Okay, this is kind of a hybrid reader author support tip, but sometimes authors do really creative things with their delivery actions. You're having a new release or a sale, or you're transitioning content for whatever reason. And I've seen sometimes where in the middle of those transitions or those really unique things you're doing, we'll get a flood of readers who are confused because I think sometimes authors will roll it out in waves. If you email us, and this is in general, if you anticipate a lot of traffic, anything like that, if you email us and just give us a heads up, like, hey, I'm doing this thing, I just want to let you know. And that way, when the readers come through and author support and reader support are communicating, we could be like, hey, heads up. Becco Yaros just released an exclusive BookFunnel only edition. We're going to have the whole world trying to download, for
Right.
48 hours only, so just a heads up.
But I know we've had authors too, when especially like doing like high volume in sales, they'll let us know when their pre-orders are going live and that sort of thing. And that
Yeah.
does help. That really does help make it easier on BookFunnel reader support, which it just means that it's more efficient. It's not that not that we're asking you to make our job easier. It's more like it's going to make it easier for all your readers because we're going to be in the loop. But yeah, keep us in the loop. That's a good idea. All right, Joetta, it's your turn.
So many of you authors are using the feature of certified mail, which is fabulous. We're glad you guys are liking that. When you are sending those out, if you could be really specific with your readers of where they need to return those reviews to, that way they come directly to you. Or if a reader has a specific question, sometimes they'll ask those at the beginning and then attach their review, or they simply will say, hey, I'm having trouble with this link. We are happy, obviously, at any time to forward any of those questions or reviews that we do receive. onto you, but some of these readers want to dig a little deeper, and that way they have a specific way to reach out to you, get those questions answered, and then respond back to you versus it coming through us or being forwarded, or you guys having to respond back to us and us responding back to a reader. A lot of times just some of the content can get lost. So that's a tip from me to you. It also makes it a little easier on your readers. And quite honestly, they feel special. They feel that they've got a inside link how to reach out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if you wanted a dedicated email for that, that would be understandable. But I think it's, like Joetta said, we're happy to forward those on. It's something we do all the
Absolutely.
time. Right. Right. And we will continue to do it. But it's so much easier for you too to also get those notifications right away, right? It gets to your inbox right away instead of, in some cases, like depending on when they send the email, right? If they send it like in the middle of the night for us, we're not going to get to it for a few hours until somebody wakes up and hops into the reader support queue and then forwards that your way. So that's a very good tip. That's a very good tip. Yeah, absolutely. Mike, I think you're up.
Small tip, not very big, but when entering a BookFunnel help ticket, I would say come with all of the information. I get a lot of people coming through and I have to search for things, especially if you know you entered an email wrong. It would help to put that email that you entered wrong into the actual ticket instead of actually having to have me search for it. But
Yeah.
that's the smallest little tip that I can give as far as that.
Right. It speeds up the whole process, right? It's kind of like an algebra equation in
Mhm.
support. Like you're like, X plus Y equals 42,
Mhm.
right? And you're just given that and none of the other variables, right? So absolutely, I know what you mean.
Especially when when a reader made a purchase using a different email, but then emailed the author from the email address they didn't use to make the purchase.
Yeah.
And then we get author forwards that are like, hey, could you help this customer? And we don't have any record of the transaction because they didn't use that same
Yeah.
email. So including an order number or the purchase email is always super helpful. We have a lot of
Right.
authors who already do that, but it's
Yeah, it speeds up the process for
for sure.
everybody. And it can be difficult too when you're trying to deal with the issue as fast as you can. You've got a reader who's not getting their book, and obviously that can be frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
But as much information
And I
as you can
think
provide, it'll just help us.
the less back and forth with a reader that we have to do, if we can get them squared away by that first email, they can include the details or the author forward can include the details. I think it just gives the author, it shows that the author's setup is organized and ready, to roll out. And then
Yeah.
on the reader side, especially if they're like first time users with BookFunnel or with you as an author, um, gives them a little bit of confidence knowing that, hey, wow, that was super easy. And, maybe I can step
Yeah.
away from using my old Kindle device and I can just use this, or I'm struggling with my Kobo or my Nook. And you know what? The BookFunnel app's working great and their service is great. The author made it really, seamless.
Yeah. Yeah. And to tack on to that, yes, we never push readers to the BookFunnel app. It's never a requirement unless you make it a requirement. Authors do have the option to do that, but we never require you to deliver through the BookFunnel app or anything. But there are a lot of readers, a growing number of readers who are just adopting it because they're getting so many books through BookFunnel anyway. And it's
Well, and
just
it
so
just
much
helps.
simpler. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
streamlines the
Yeah.
process.
Right. Exactly. Because remember, to kind of connect this to what Kat was talking about with Kindle, your reader got their book through a BookFunnel landing page, and we can see that, but we can't see what's happening after that. So we can't necessarily know exactly like what's happening in their Kindle app or on their Kindle device, whether or not it actually got there or not. So that just should drive home the point. As much information as you can give us.
For sure.
Kelly,
Hey.
what do you got for us today?
Well, it's kind of along the same line about giving us the information that we need. There are lots of times when maybe a delivery action is messed up or authors uploaded the wrong file or, there's something going on with the file, or just for those author forwards that we were just talking about, where, we're sending reviews to you, we're sending questions to you. We need to have in your account both of your or all of your emails that are on your account should be active and actively checked. A lot of times, and I know I did this, I realized I was doing this myself. You'll pick up because you have to have an email address for your website, right? But you never actually check that page. It's this, author name at authordomain.com, and you never look at it. So the account email, the one that you log in with, is only seen by our staff. So it can have your real name there. You can have your email that is for you, but the email that you use in each of your pen names are where we will send questions that are a little bit more public facing. So if we have to forward a reader to you, that's the one we'll pull up, and we'll send the reader to whatever pen name you have. Both of them should be active and checked, because if we have a question, we will keep track. If like there's a problem with your pre-order delivery or something like that, we might reach out to you for both, just to ask you, what's going on, or did you know there's a problem, and to work with you to help fix that. So, and then for your readers, sometimes they're asking for refunds, or they're asking for an exchange. We get that all the time, where they're like, I thought this was a paperback, or I meant to buy the audiobook and I got an ebook. All of those have to be forwarded to the author who has that record. We don't deal with any of the refunds of the transaction. So we have to forward that, and we will tell the reader, we don't handle the transactions. You have to talk to the author directly, but I forwarded them to you to them, so that they can help you with that. And that just kind of helps them understand, like, we hear that you want an exchange or you want to refund. You have to talk to the author regarding that, whether or not that's however they're going to handle it. So it's just really important to have a way that you can be contacted by our team if we have a problem. And we do follow up weekly on things that have gone on to like your account. Like if your pre-order's having a problem or your book file is incorrect, we'll follow back and say, hey, did you get my message? Just, did you deliver the order for your readers? Just to kind of make sure that it's not getting left behind. So yeah, definitely check your account and see that you have, your emails are all available for you to actually check it.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep tabs on them, especially if you're doing, I mean, for the most part, like if you're just giving a free book away in promos or anything like that, you may not see a huge volume of readers having trouble to begin with. I know we're three of us here are authors as well. So there are readers downloading my books and promos all the time, every day. I don't know. Kat, Joetta, Mike, do you guys, you don't see my readers coming through the queue being like, I can't get this guy's book.
Nope.
Right.
I think since you've been here, we've only had one support request for you, and I think it was like a Kindle thing. It wasn't even.
Yeah.
It was a
Right.
like it wasn't because of anything that you did.
Right. And so for most authors who are just sharing books in that way, you may not, like, the volume of support you're getting or requests from readers might not be very high. We can maybe talk about that. Like, what are some things that, like, for authors getting into this, like, that increases the volume of support. But it's more like if you're selling direct and you're doing even a modest volume, you're more likely to have some of those things crop up a little bit, here and there, as well. We also, for some authors, if you are doing a decent volume, we recommend also giving us your phone number. So we can like text you, be like, hey, because sometimes stores break. We've had that happen before.
Yes.
BookFunnel, we run a pretty tight ship here. But some of the sales platforms we integrate with occasionally have had some issues go down, or a store has gotten on the author quickly, then that can also be helpful.
Can I add something onto that, Jack? We do also have a place where we can input like a super special secret email that's just for us. Like, if for whatever reason, even your account email or your pen name emails, you're not checking them as much, but do what Kelly says, make sure they're active. But fail safe, give us your super special email. We have a place we can record it. We do not reach out to you unless there's a problem we need you to
Yeah.
solve ASAP. And it's almost 99% of the time reader related. It's like, especially if you're in a new release period or a pre-order period, something like that where you want it to go off without a hitch,
Yes. Yep.
please.
Worth noting. Worth
I was
noting.
going to add, because
Definitely.
our delivery actions that are bundles cannot have a pre-order included. A lot of authors will put in there, like, it'll be on the product listing, but we won't see the book. It's not a part of the actual delivery action. And their plan is to, maybe use bulk delivery at release so that they can deliver those books. If you're doing that, just make sure that your readers are aware that that's what you're going to do. Like, this is a pre-order. Make it very clear that this one book is a pre-order. Everything else is going to be delivered right away, and you'll get your book on whatever day that your release is. Because we'll get authors or readers who will come in and be like, I ordered 4 books, but I only got 3. And then if you want to just shoot us an email before you set that pre-order for that bundle that says, hey, I'm doing this thing and this is the book title. So when you see that come through, we will know so-and-so has this book on pre-order in a bundle and the bundle's being sold without it. And when we get questions about it, we could just say, this is the anticipated release day.
Yep.
So just give us that information. It's really helpful.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to move on to our main topic for today, which is BookFunnel reader support and everything that entails. So what I want to start off here with, and I'm gonna pitch this question to the 3 of you here in the reader support team. Maybe we'll start with Kat on this one, and then each of you can chime in. What is a day in the life of Jamie in BookFunnel reader support like? What issues do you tend to deal with? What is it like, really, to be in BookFunnel reader support? Kat, you can take us away.
All right. So basically, first thing in the morning, because we don't have overnight coverage, but as far as like we're BookFunnel time is Central Standard Time. So from like 9 p.m. to 8 a.m., that's the only time that we are not monitoring our inboxes. So get up, have about 200 emails, usually 100 to 200 emails in the queue when we start. And we just go through them. And a lot of them, the majority of them are honestly Kindle issues because that is the most popular platform, e-reader platform and device. And it is also, it can be the most problematic, but we do try to keep up with it. We do pretty good. So we go through those and we get reviews that we forward onto the author support team, and then they forward that on to the authors. We get general questions about, hey, I bought these books. How do I access them? They don't know about the BookFunnel library. They don't know about the BookFunnel app. So replies that we'll send that are, kind of generic, where it's like, hey, this is your BookFunnel library. This is how you can access it. This is the BookFunnel app. This is how you can access it. But we always include, if you want help getting something to your specific device or app, just let us know. We can walk you through it every step of the way, no matter what it is. There's only been a handful of things I could not get BookFunnel books to, and it's usually because they are end-of-life devices. They're out of date. They're so old that they don't get updates anymore. Or every once in a while, there's something wrong with the book file where it won't send. And then we pass that on to author support, and then they, reach out to authors and figure out what the deal is there. Yeah, it's mostly just helping people out. It's really nice because we get a lot of gratitude that we're not just a AI bot responding. We're actually actual human beings, and we care that we want them to get their books. We're readers too. We want you to be able to get your book, and we get a lot of gratitude for that. And that's very helpful to get through the day of solving everybody's problems.
Yeah. Now, I know occasionally we do get somebody who in reader support or author support who will email us initially. It's usually the first email. And they might say something like, and I know it's going to be a robot replying back to me, or I know it's going to be AI. And then they hear back from a real person. They're like, oh, wow, I was not expecting to get like a real person responding to me. So yeah, that's a great part of what we do at BookFunnel. Joetta, how much coffee do you have to drink in the morning?
So just to clarify,
to get those 200 emails that Kat's talking about.
So just so everyone's clear, I am not a coffee drinker. I am a Coca-Cola drinker.
Okay,
But yes,
fair enough.
I usually have one down the chute before
Yep.
I get started. And I think
Caffeinated
just like
beverage, whatever it
yes,
is.
very much so. And a lot like Kat said, you open it up and it's in, we receive requests based off of author priority support. So sometimes in the morning we'll have a handful of support questions that are only an hour old, and then we'll have some that are 6 or 7 hour. Obviously, like Kat stated, we don't do support from 9 p.m. until 8 a.m. So they can be as long as 12 hours. But ideally, we start in the morning, we knock out those priority emails, and then start in on the heavy weight of the day. It kind of gets methodical. You start going through it. Occasionally, we will have a reader that is unfamiliar with BookFunnel, maybe even unfamiliar with an author, and they feel that this is a scam, that they have wasted their money. I didn't receive an email. I can't find my book. There's no information, things like that. So we'll just take a step back, see what information we do have, and see the quickest way to say, hey, actually, your book was sent to this email. You can locate it here. Or, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm really sorry. I'm not finding your email in our logs. Did you use a different email? And try to give them some comfort and letting them know, hey, we're trying to help you. Give me as much information as you can and we'll get you squared away as
Right.
quick as possible.
Right. And
But
I
yeah,
think an important thing to note on that too, because oftentimes the readers because we occasionally get that, who respond and maybe they didn't find their initial email. And so their initial response is, this must be a scam. Oftentimes these are, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, these are older readers, right? And this is relevant. This is relevant because some authors have an audience that is older. And if you are one of those authors and you're using BookFunnel, this is important for you to know, because folks who, are up there in age are told all the time to keep an eye out for scams, and for good reason, right?
Yes.
And so when we get those emails, we don't even feel bad about it because we know what we are, but we understand where they're coming from. So it can be frustrating for them. And I'm sure, Joetta, you've helped them through that, but they inevitably realize that, yeah, no, BookFunnel is not a scam. We are real. That's probably pretty reassuring to them at that point, to know that there's an actual person on the other end there. So Mike, for you're the newest member to the BookFunnel reader support team.
That's me.
And we'll get into your origin story, your BookFunnel origin story here in a little bit. We're going to do that for everybody here toward the end. We're even gonna like spill the tea on how Jamie got started and everything. We'll get to that. But for you on a day-to-day basis, like, what's the most fulfilling thing about being in BookFunnel reader support? Because like when somebody hears like there's 200 emails you've got to deal with in the morning, like, isn't that daunting? Don't you wake up and like? But I imagine you got a smile on your face. So, right. So there's got to be something about it that's fulfilling for you. What's
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely. I start my morning off. Of course, I'm already answering questions and helping people out with my kids and everything, because they ask a million questions. So looking at 200 emails is nothing compared to the 400 questions they ask before school started.
That's so true.
So yeah, so that's nothing. I guess the expressions of gratitude I get random throughout the day in the chat. Like, I love those. You may not think we see them, but we see them. And even if we don't see them, we have like the author team, like Em and Kelly, they forward it over to us so we can actually see those comments. So helping people has always been a thing for me. I've always been a problem solver, so me fitting into this job was easy. And I just love being like, the pattern. I don't need it, but it's really good to see it, especially for readers that like, hey, you're not spam, you're not actual computer company. Like, hey, thanks for helping me. So it means like knowing that I took the time out to help them, especially when it's like a problem that's like over like 3 emails, 4 emails. They realize like, oh, this is actually a real person.
Right.
I would have to say it's probably the gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've seen that myself, being on the receiving end of it. And then like occasionally the reader support team, the author support team will get those emails from authors and from readers. And it's great because like, yeah, you helped somebody. That's kind of that's the whole point. All right. Right.
I wish you could have been at Author Nation with us last year, Mike, because that was I was floored at the gratitude that every author that uses our service came up and they were like, your reader support? Oh my God, thank you so much. You're my best friend. You've saved my life. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. It makes it all worth it. It makes it all. So if you're ever worried, for the authors who are watching, like if you're ever worried that like you're putting a lot on BookFunnel support's plate, or you're like pestering us or whatever, however you might think, right? We get fulfillment out of it, so don't worry about it. Solving the world's problems. Not all superheroes wear capes, and that's okay. But yes, Author Nation was great. So Kat, Kelly, Emma, and myself, we were there. I think Joetta, you were on a cruise, so you
And
weren't able
poor
to
Mike
join
had to
us.
hold down the fort.
Yeah, Mike was holding down the fort while
I
we were all just partying in Vegas. No, it was business. It was business.
Yeah, any author who was there probably saw me on the floor on my laptop doing support several times.
Yeah, right. We were working there too.
Yeah.
Ryan was there. He's a member of our dev team. Of course, Richie and Damon were there as well. So if you were there at Author Nation, let us know in the comments and say hi. Hopefully we'll see y'all this coming November. It is fun because in this job, we all work remote, by the way, right? So we're all kind of all over the place. Most of us are in Texas, right? So it's fun for us to kind of all get together and be in one place physically. What was kind of neat too, I thought. That was kind of fun. But Mike, Kat, and Joetta, you all are in Texas. Houston,
I'm up north.
right? I don't know where all you are, but you know, as you've told me numerous times, Texas is a big place.
It's really big.
Very much so.
Right. I'm an Iowan myself, so when you say Texas is a big place, my response is, well, so is the Midwest. And then we've got Kelly in Nevada.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
You did say it right.
Okay.
Good job.
And Emma is
Corrected.
in.
If you guys go to Vegas, you will get corrected by Nevada.
Right. Well, it's so funny because I grew up in central Iowa. There's a little town in central Iowa that's called Nevada, and it's spelled the same way. So I grew up saying Nevada as a kid, and then like, oh, that state's called Nevada. No, it's not. It's just a different name. We're weird like that. And then Emma is from Georgia, right? The Atlanta area, if I'm not mistaken. So we're all kind of all over the place a little bit, but yeah. Now, I guess, Kelly, what has been your experience? You're on the author support team, right? So working with these fine folks, right? We've been talking about kind of the communication back and forth between author support and reader support. It's kind of like, the two hemispheres of the brain almost, right? What has been your experience working with reader support? Right. And working with these guys, these members of our team, guys and gals, I should say, excuse me. I just do that out of habit. Don't take it
It's been
personally.
terrible. It's been awful.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. It's incredible communication between the groups. Like if we see a big problem coming through and we're like, I could tell a high volume of problems are coming from a certain author. It's like, let me reach out to the author because obviously something going on. And, we communicate back and say, hey, we heard back from the author and here's what's happening. And then that way they can, sort of triage whatever they need to do in order for the readers to get the best service. So sometimes we'll hang on to a reader's question and like this reader's having a problem here. And we don't let it go. We try not to let it go more than 24 hours without at least saying, hey, we'll get back to you. But it's really good communication. We have a system, a ticketing system basically between us so that if, let's say, a file is broken and it won't upload to any device or something like that, which happens all the time. Or this is easy to do. You put the wrong book into, you're giving away a reader magnet and you have the wrong one. We have that happen all the time. And reader support will send us a message like, hey, this book, I confirmed it, the book is wrong. Can you, here you go. And then our job is to reach out to the author and do everything we can. And then we respond to the reader and say, hey, it looks like there might be a little hiccup or a little something going on. We're gonna look at it and we're gonna get back to you. So we never just leave them hanging.
Yeah. Yeah. The left hand knows what the right hand is doing at BookFunnel.
Yeah.
Right. We very much do. We very much do. And I know that allows us to specialize too a little bit because obviously author support, we're focused on the author side of things. They're kind of two different sides of the coin. Kat, I know you, well, let's see, Kat, Joetta, like who's, I guess the two of you and myself have
Done
been,
both.
we've done both. We've done author support and reader support at various times throughout BookFunnel's history. How would you, I'll pitch this to the two of you, how would you describe like the difference between BookFunnel author support and BookFunnel reader support? Because they are really two totally different things.
Joe, you want to go first?
Well, I feel like with author support, it usually was more of inquiring, like asking questions of how to do something or where to find something, versus a reader is coming at you sometimes a little bit more blindly with, I ordered books and they're not here. Okay, what was the title of the book? Where are you trying to download it to? Versus going back to the author queue, usually the authors come at you with more detail, needing a specific type of, specific information or something like that. So a lot of times in the author support queue, I never was completely like, what are you talking about? There usually was enough information to where I could figure out what it was. Now, I didn't necessarily always know the answer to it and would need to dig a little deeper. But that really was the main difference. I feel like authors come at us with more specifics, and sometimes readers come at us with just a help me.
Yep.
I would say volume for sure, because there are a lot more readers than there are authors.
Yeah, for sure.
But the author emails tend to be more involved. And so they're not like the readers. We're going to get 100 readers a day that ask how to put it on Kindle. They get basically the same response. Authors, every email is going to be different. Some will have issues with their domain. You need to explain a CNAME to them. Some will have issues with their API, or someone will have issues with, well, I don't know how to do this promo. There's so many different gears working on the author side than on the reader side, that you kind of have to go more in depth with each email. It's not just, hey, I know how to solve this problem. It's okay, well, let's talk about this problem and figure it out.
Right. So yeah, it's really, they're two different worlds. Because in reader support, like Joetta said, sometimes they're just like, help me get my book. And you kind of got to start from scratch. And the author, they kind of already have a frame of reference for everything. I remember when I transitioned from reader support to author support, it was like, oh, I don't have, like, I have to, it's not that you're not thinking about the response in reader support, it's that the questions are usually the same. And when readers are coming to you, they're usually coming to you with the same generic list of questions, because those are the typical issues. Most people are using Kindle, and there's so many devices and apps that they could be using. So there's only so many combinations of ways that this thing can go wrong. And so you're kind of dealing with it like a mechanic in a way, right? You know the machine inside and out, and you know how to fix it, right? And that's that. And then I guess if that's kind of being a mechanic, author support is kind of like teaching people how to drive. Right? Because
Yeah.
it's so much like, well, here's the steering wheel and here's the stick and all that. But like, you need to know, like, not to cross the yellow line, and you need to know, like, how to merge into traffic. And that's all contextual.
And it all depends on where you're going. Yeah.
And what kind of car you're driving.
Yeah.
And you see what I mean? So it's like that in my mind, it's like, that's the difference. It's the difference between like being the mechanic and being the driving instructor in a way. Because generally, if you're a mechanic, not a whole lot can go catastrophically wrong. No, I mean, it could if you do a poor job. Like, we're assuming, a well-trained mechanic here, but with a driving instructor. I remember when I was a teenager, there were a couple times, it wasn't me. We were doing the lessons with two kids where you'd switch out. That other kid, I don't know what was going on, but there were a couple times the instructor had to use that extra brake. It was, I'm lucky to be here, guys. But Emma, I wanted to ask you, because obviously you're part of the author support team, but you were an author using BookFunnel, and so was Kelly. I want to say this, right? I'm not trying to single out Emma here, but Kelly was too. But Emma, you were an author who was using BookFunnel and has used book. You're like actually one of the early adopters of BookFunnel. before you joined the team, so you were familiar with BookFunnel reader support, right? When you applied for the job, we did a background check on you and looked at like, who is this? Has she been in touch with BookFunnel reader support and was she nice to them? No, you were fine. You were fine. I think you had maybe emailed support a few times and that was it.
No, the ironic thing is right before I applied, I emailed author support a really stupid question that I realized the answer to right after I emailed. I'm like, damn, I hope they don't see that.
Well, hey, you were willing to ask for help. That's what
Yes.
that showed. And there's no such thing as stupid questions. But from your perspective, being an author and having BookFunnel reader support and then becoming part of the team and then getting to see what reader support is like behind the scenes, obviously without giving away all of our secrets, what was that like to come to join the team and see like, oh, this is how the
The sausage gets made.
yes, exactly.
A little surreal, but at the same time, it felt like coming home. Because, yeah, I've been using BookFunnel I am still an active. In fact, they had to browbeat me to stop paying them the monthly subscription because I'm like,
Made sure I gave her all of your accounts and said, stop billing these immediately.
I'm gonna have to sneak up in there with a secret
Your
one or
money,
something.
your money
but,
is no,
yeah. No, but I mean, the three of us, we're authors. We use BookFunnel every day. I mean, my money, my mouth is where my job is. I'm an active BookFunnel user. I run everything through BookFunnel. But I was already familiar with the dashboard. Oh my God, but finding out about Jamie. Because
Yeah.
even though I hadn't really used support a lot myself, maybe one or two times, I mean, everybody knows Jamie. And then to realize behind the scenes, I'm like, oh, yo, Slick.
I
Because I
remember we were
understood
in
why
that
you were
same
doing
Zoom.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in the same Zoom and it was like our first day and Jack's like, "So, have you ever gotten an email from Jamie?" And we're like, and Emma's like, "Oh yeah, I have. I talked to Jamie." And I'm like, "I don't think I've ever reached out to support."
When are we going to meet her? When is she
Like,
going to
of
be on the
course,
Zoom
Jamie.
call?
I didn't
Surprise, it's
see
you.
that one. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Quite the reveal. And in fact, that brings us actually, that's a natural segue into our final segment, the story behind the story. In this segment, we ask our guests about usually it's like their author origin story. Our main guests here today are a reader support team. And so we're going to be kind of asking them about their BookFunnel origin story. We're going to also be talking about like the Jamie origin story, why we use Jamie in support, particularly for readers, and what the whole reasoning is behind that, and it actually makes things go much more smoothly. But yes, it was a big. I remember it being a big reveal for both Kelly and Emma when they joined the team, right? And it's like this kind of mind-blowing moment. There's a few people, authors specifically, who have figured it out. Occasionally we'll get an email that will be like a thank you, but they'll address it to all the Jamies, right? Thanks to all the Jamies at BookFunnel. Yeah, you guys know. At this point, it's kind of an open secret, that sort of thing. So I want to go through the team here. Mike, we'll start with you, because you're the newest member of the team. So give us a bit of your background, like before you joined BookFunnel, because obviously, you have a connection to the self-publishing world, right? A very intimate connection to the self-publishing world. I'll tease it a little bit. And then you became part of the BookFunnel reader support team. So yeah, just give us your backstory, how you got involved in the self-publishing world, and then how you became part of the BookFunnel team.
Well, all since my youth, I've always been involved in like tech support or some type of customer relations, some type of job. I did Olive Garden for 5 years. I did T-Mobile for 5 years. I worked in a school district for 5 years. So it's like my destiny almost.
Yeah.
But my wife, who I met in college, she is a self-published author. And she talked to me about BookFunnel being the best thing some years back. And I could not understand why she was dedicating so much time to this and this and this. And obviously I understand now why. Wonderful team, wonderful place to work for. But it's, like I said, it feels like destiny being here. I just fit right in.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And so you are sort of the husband with tech skills
That's me.
who
I'm the
is
husband with
helping. So she's got the self-publishing career, and
and I was her assistant.
right. What kind of tech stuff were you helping her out with?
Helping with getting her book files online, correcting the book files, marketing, just anything I could put my hands on as far as like, yeah. I tried to help her with book covers once upon a time, but that did not work out well. So yeah.
Right. Right. And so what's it been like being a part of the team now and like behind the curtain, right, so to speak, and helping out readers on a day-to-day basis?
I love it. I talked to Joetta and Kat when I first started off all the time about how much this was. I don't know. I try not to brag on the job.
It's okay. You
Yeah,
can.
I tell my friends this all the time. Like, if y'all don't understand, like the position I'm in, like my career path, this is where it's at. This is my stopping point. Because I can't see doing anything outside of this. Like, I love already being a help. This just helps the 10 times more. So.
Yeah. No, I hear you. When I tell people about my job and what I do, they're like, so like, is your company hiring?
Yeah, I get that all the time too. Or they think I'm lying because I'm the jokester on my friend group, so they don't even think I have a job. That's the
Right.
sad
Well, hey,
part. They don't think I
well,
even have a job.
well, then you can send them this podcast episode and show them, no, it's
Exactly.
legit, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that all the time. People can't believe it. But the thing is, and this has to do maybe a little bit with BookFunnel's origins, and we can kind of get into that. But like, when you start a company like BookFunnel, it kind of like blows up in a short period of time, right? You need people that you can trust, and you need to bring in folks who, in some cases at first, people that you know. So Joetta, that brings me to you because you also
Yes.
have a very intimate, you have an intimate connection to BookFunnel,
I do.
right?
I
Tell
do.
everybody your BookFunnel origin story.
So, my career history is I have always been in customer service, um, many, since probably the age of like 15 or 16. So many years ago. And of course, as that, uh, I grew and the career opportunities grew. I moved into management. So handling, HR type of situations with my own employees, doing training for companies and traveling throughout the United States. But it all was centered around customer service. And my wonderful sister married this amazing man named Damon, um, 20 plus years ago. And Damon was this techie guy. And so we called Damon all the time for help with our broken computers. And our mother would reach out to Damon because she has crashed her computer. So anyway, Damon was our tech guy in the family. And him and Julie had moved to California with an opportunity for tech. And long story short, we're getting a little homesick and we're ready to come back to home to Texas. And so they did. They took a leap and came back, and Damon started, doing his own author. Damon has some books that are published out there and was trying to figure out a way of how he could get it sent to his mom and some other friends, and started dabbling in this little business. So anyway, long story short, it took off. Kat can give a little bit more testimony to that. But I was driving home from my job that was customer service orientated. I'd been there for a long time, and it was just, the day in and day out. And my sister called and out of the blue said, "Will you work for me?" And I literally laughed out loud and pulled over on the side of the road. And I was like, "Julie, I just called you yesterday on how to open an attachment that was in my email because I couldn't figure it out." I mean, that is no joke. Like, technically challenged, I am the poster child. And anyway, she laughed and she's like, "No, no, no. I just need your insight for the support piece and to come and do some backside of billing." And anyway, that was 2018, I think March of 2018, if I remember correctly. And so I had a long heart to heart with my husband, and Julie and I talked some more details. And I went in the following day and gave notice to my company and went out on a whim. And it was one of the greatest decisions that I've made. Lee. Knowing Damon for 20 years, knowing my sister, I won't give away her age, but for her whole lifetime, um, you know, I knew, just knowing those 2 individuals, I knew that whether they decided to, do it forever, or if they decided to shut it down or whatever, I knew that it was gonna be honest. I knew it was gonna be a company of integrity. And so yes, it was terrifying because Julie handed me a laptop and I'm like, what? But I love it. I absolutely would not change a thing
Yeah.
about it. And the growth
Yeah.
that BookFunnel has seen just in, 10 years basically is just mind blowing. So Kat, I know, can speak huge volumes to that.
Yeah. We'll get to Cat. But yeah, no, the book funnel itself would not be what it is today, obviously without any of us, but without you, Joetta. And this is what I was trying to say is that, yeah, when in those days, BookFunnel was in its infancy and you needed, Damon and Julie, I don't have all the insight because I came after you, but I know like when you're in that stage and you're of your business and it's really growing and things are taking off, you need people you can trust. And so, yeah, sometimes you got to tap your older sister and be like, hey, I need you on this one.
And you've gotten
and you
so
can-
much better technically, Joe, for real.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Like
Well,
I
but-
remember from the beginning, and you were very much scared of technology. And
Yeah.
over these past few years, you've gotten so much better. I'm so proud of you.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, and
Thank
you have a
you.
unique perspective too that I think maybe helps you relate with some of the readers who approach this and they don't think that they can do it because they just haven't done that before. And I think that's really, it's just familiarity. And if Joetta can do it, you can do it.
That needs to be like a meme or something.
sticker.
If Joetta can do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there is, however, an OG Jamie, the original Cat.
me.
You are, I guess it depends on how you're employee number one, right? Because if you count Damon and Julie as, obviously it was Damon's invention, but Damon and Julie kind of there at the inception of the whole thing. I like to call it, they're kind of like the mind and the soul of BookFunnel, right? In my mind. But you were the first person outside of those two to join the team. And you were the first Jamie.
I was the first Jamie.
So first I'm going to go into your origin story of joining the team. And then I do want to talk about how this whole Jamie thing came about, because I think that's kind of that's the thing that everybody wants to know. So we're going to save it for last. Right. So tell us what's your backstory? What were you doing before you did BookFunnel? How do you know Damon?
So Damon and
that.
I went to high school together, and we were very good friends all through high school. Bartended my way through college, got my BA in business from U of H, go Cougs, and then decided I wanted to go to art school. And so moved to Chicago and went to the American Academy of Art there, worked for some comic book companies doing some illustrating, and then decided I wanted to come back to Texas, came back to Houston, got involved in the oil and gas sector, worked for several different oil and gas companies on a corporate level, basically assistant rig manager, like helping out the assistant rig manager, not actually going on the rigs, but helping them, taking care of their business here, and being kind of a commissary for any out of country visitors. Like we'd have a lot of people from Edinburgh, Azerbaijan, and I would be the person responsible for showing them around and making sure they had a great time because, I'm a fun person. So
If you have to tell people you're a fun person.
yeah, that's
though,
why I say it all the time. That makes it true. So I got tired of oil and gas because it's an extremely volatile, extremely stressful sector of business. And it was literally killing me. My blood pressure was off the charts. And so I gave it up and moved to Dallas from Houston. I played roller derby for 6 years. So I started making roller derby skates, making very little money, but it was better than working corporately. And I got a call from Damon, my friend from high school, and we've kept in touch over the years, obviously. He's one of the best people I know ever. Like, he just really is. And he was like, hey, so I know you're making skates and stuff and you don't want to do the corporate thing, but are you happy doing what you're doing? And I was like, well, I like making skates, I guess. And he was like, well, how would you like to jump in on my startup? Because I know I can trust you. You're technically minded, because I used to build websites and stuff like that in high school. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I put in my 2 weeks notice at the skate shop, and he sent me a laptop, and it's history. Like basically I think I went down to Houston where they are, where BookFunnel headquarters is, and spent the weekend just talking about what my role in this initially was going to be, what we wanted this company to become, how we wanted it to to go. Like we're not money hungry. We're not going to sell people's info. Like those were like the hard things. We're not selling anybody's info, and we're never going to a chat bot for support. Those are our two big things. And then, so Julie and I started doing support and author and reader initially. And she would take care of most of the author side. I would take care of most of the reader side. We were both working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like it was a rough first couple years, but it was it. Not just because I was working with people I've known since I was 16, but because I believed in the product and I liked that it was helping out independent authors, self-published authors, authors that may not have the opportunity to grow their readership without something like us. And yeah, so Julie and I adopted the name Jamie because here's the big reveal, y'all.
Yep.
So we were both in support. And so one of us would have a day off and we would respond with, okay, well, this was Julie or this is Kat. And they would be like, but I was talking to Julie. You probably don't understand and I don't want to go through this again. Like what? I'm like, no. We can see all of these emails. We understand like we also had, because this was, 9-10 years ago, had some people, since it was Julie and Kat answering, had some kind of chauvinists, misogynist people who weren't comfortable asking women about technical things. And so we just kind of adopted a non-gendered generic name. No offense to any Jamies out there. It's a great name. We love it, obviously. And that way we didn't get the oh, well, you're a girl, you don't know anything about tech. And we didn't get but I was talking to this other person earlier and now I'm going to have to explain myself. And so it just seemed like the easier way to go and avoid confusion for readers and authors at the time, because we were much smaller back then.
Right. But it was still a lot at that point in time too. Like you said, because you guys were both working like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Damon, it's not like he was sitting back doing nothing either. He was programming and writing code for everything that, like, the foundations of BookFunnel were being laid.
Yeah,
it was like...
Yeah, some of those days, Julie and I would be going through, okay, well, how do we want to word this if this happens? Or what do we want to put on the website for help? Or if when we do the app, because this was before the app was even a thing, when we do the app, how do we want to do this? So there was a lot of back and forth about, how we wanted things to go. And with Damon, obviously. Yeah, it was a lot of fun because it was fun watching help build this thing. And it was very hands-off on their end because they're like, okay, well, we know you know what you're doing and we have other things to do. So
No, yeah, I remember when I joined the team and there was a lot of trust because I've known Damon for not nearly as long as Kat and Joetta. And obviously not in the same way because I live in a different state. But, I remember, like, they brought me on because they knew me and they trusted me, and their business was still in that sort of infancy, and it was all about trust is what it was about. And that's kind of what I found out personally. If you're interested, not that anybody would be, in my origin story, and more interesting than that is Kelly and Emma, who joined the team, their origin stories. You can go back to the very first episode of the BookFunnel podcast, episode 1, because it's just the three of us, Kelly, Emma, and myself, and you can see how we joined the team and our BookFunnel origin stories too back there. I think there is one episode of the podcast too where I said something like, the whole author support team is here. And Emma was like, well, aren't you forgetting somebody? Because that was when we were still kind of keeping the Jamie thing under wraps. And I was like, oh, no, Jamie's sick or something. I don't have to say that. So while, again, to kind of revisit this and wrap things up here, while the person named Jamie does not exist, the real people of BookFunnel who use the name Jamie, we do exist.
It feels like a big Santa Claus reveal.
Yes, no, it is. But hey, everybody needs to know, eventually. Here's the thing, to play off of that, Santa Claus is a myth. But it's actually based on a real person. Just like how Jamie is maybe the myth based on the real people that is the 6 of us, the BookFunnel support team, author support and reader support. We personify Jamie, or I don't know, with some funny, imagine I said a really funny, insightful analogy about how we become, exactly. Yes, exactly. But we make up Jamie, right? We make up that team. For those of you authors, right, you're probably still going to hear from Jamie. We have been toying around with the idea of starting to use our own names in author support. You probably have, some of you, received emails from Kelly or Emma or myself in author support, but we might just start using our own names in author support in the near future. However, Jamie is still going to be necessary in reader support, so we're gonna stick with that because it keeps things simpler and smoother. You can tell your readers, hey, I'm going to send you over to Jamie, and they're going to know that they're going to hear from Jamie, whoever they think that is. Right? Again, some people, and this is maybe one final thing. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten the question from somebody in support, Jamie, I've gotten this once before, like, Jamie, I, I don't know if you mind me asking, but like, are you male or female? Are you a man or are you a woman? I've gotten
I've
that question a
never
few
gotten
times
that.
before.
I would crack up at that.
We've
I
got that.
can't remember how I've answered in the past, but some people will ask. It's usually just out of innocent curiosity. They want to know Jamie and who the actual person Jamie is. So any readers who are watching, sorry that we hoodwinked you. It was innocent. It was all for your best interests, with your best interests in mind. And it wasn't so much of a hoodwink then, I guess. We wanted to keep things simpler for you all. But this is the team: Mike, Kat, Joetta. I want to thank you guys for joining us on this episode of the podcast.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
fun.
for sure. Thank you.
And yeah, hopefully our authors have gotten the chance to know like what the team is really all about. Again, if you want to meet some of us in person, Author Nation BookFunnel will be there again this year. Some of our team members will be there. I don't know that everybody will be because I don't know how that'll work out. But that's a great place to meet us in person. And then obviously,
Me and Mike are going this time.
Okay.
Even if we have to paper, rock, scissors,
I
absolutely.
don't make the decisions, so I don't want to say anything and then have somebody get mad at me later. But you guys are all great to work with, each and every one of you. I thought we could do a segment on airing our grievances, but I really have none, except for Kat. But that's different.
Right. I am the worst.
But anyway, this is meant to be just kind of a lighthearted, fun little episode for you guys to get to know the team and know like everything behind Jamie, who Jamie is, who Jamies are. What? How does that work? I don't know. Maybe I'll never know, but that's all right.
We never will.
Right.
I'm going to
I
chime
can't
in
wait to see
here.
how many people is going to put this in the chat.
What was that? Was that Mike?
I can't wait to see how many people is going to ask this in the reader queue.
Oh yeah. It'll be interesting. I don't know that it will make it to readers. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us for this episode of the BookFunnel podcast. I want to thank all of you watching on YouTube. If you are, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you happen to be listening to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever, please also follow us there and leave a review wherever you might be listening. Do whatever things you've got to do on whatever platform you'd be listening on. Thank you again for watching. Thank you to our guests today, the BookFunnel reader support team, Jamie, and Jamie. Okay, Kat, Joetta, and Mike. Thank you, as always, to my co-hosts, Kelly Tansey and Emma Allison, for joining me on this podcast every time. You guys are great. And thank you all again for watching. We will see you all in the next episode of the BookFunnel podcast.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.